I was living sort of just outside of Geelong, and we had a pub across the road, and my neighbour was sick one weekend and he asked me to cover his dishwashing shift at the pub across the road. So I went in there and did that, and I guess I was hooked from there.
Today on Dirty Linen, we are heading to a very happening regional city, the city of Geelong, about an hour west of Melbourne, with so much great food and wine activity happening. Our guest today is Eli Grubb. I first heard of Eli when he was at Jackrabbit Vineyard on the nearby Bellarine Peninsula. He's currently cooking at Westend in Geelong. Eli, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Thanks, Dani. It's good to be on.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show. Let's start with, current events. Tell us about Westend.
All right, so I just took over the kitchen here under the executive chef, Corey Hyde. So we started with brand new menu and all new like house-made pastas, breads, dry-aged steaks, all sorts of new things. And, it's pretty exciting change for me.
So tell us about the difference. I mean, what is it that you're really getting stuck into there?
So previously at Westend, it was a pretty good restaurant in Geelong. I think the owner's just taken the previous owner just took a different direction. But we're trying to sort of revive the place and bring something new and exciting to the street. So it's a little bit of a different direction to what it was, but just trying to go for approachable food, try and get a bit of a vibe happening in there, and just, focusing on good quality house-made produce and all that sort of thing, yeah.
Because I know that Westend's, it's in the building that was the Eureka Hotel, which I think is around about Geelong's oldest or second oldest building, let alone hospitality establishment. So a really famous old pub in Geelong. What's it like being in a building that so many people would have a connection to?
It's pretty cool, actually. I feel like everyone who comes through, there's a lot of renovations and things like that happening in the background at the moment, and everyone's got a story about, when visiting here back in the day. I mean, it was kind of just before my era, so I remember going in there once while it was the Eureka, and then it being closed for a few years and before it was rebranded. But there's definitely a lot of nostalgia attached to it. And I think it's exciting for people to come through and see, that things are changing and that, a bit of the old sort of atmosphere is back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I remember, Eli, when I first heard of you, it was because we had Will Edwards on the podcast. So a couple of years ago now, Will was an apprentice chef with you at Jackrabbit, and he won Apprentice of the Year in the Golden Plate Awards. I know that he spoke of you so highly just in terms of the way that you'd mentored and trained him. Can you talk about the way, I guess, you came up in kitchens and the kinds of values that you try to pass on and let shine through?
Yeah, he was starting off with us as a work experience kid. It would have been, about 4 years ago now. And, he was just such a sponge at the start, just really excited about learning everything, and it was a good change to see. It's not often you see someone who's work experience who has that passion already. Normally it takes a while to develop, but he was a great person to mentor. Really soaked up a lot of knowledge from me, and also the exec chef Dwayne Burke. He's actually coming to work with me, I think in September. He's just overseas at the moment for a well-deserved break, I think.
That's so good. So he's qualified now?
Yeah, so he qualified, I think, about a month after I left Jackrabbit. And then, he's taken some time off, and then, he's been in touch with me to come start at Westend shortly. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so nice to maintain that connection. I mean, Eli, did you have some great mentors as you came up in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. My sort of first serious kitchen job at the Telegraph Hotel, I think I started there when I was about 17 and a half, I guess. I was working under Corey Hyde, who, yeah, really, I think a lot of my success and everything like that comes from his leadership. Just a great role model, hard worker, just very organised person, really smart with food and menus and things like that as well. He spent a lot of time invested in me, I think, especially in those early years. And I guess I've just tried to replicate that with people that I've worked with, and yeah, it seems to have been successful so far.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, I know that Corey Hyde is an ambassador for the Burnt Chef project. We've had Alan Tompkins on. He's the chief ambassador for Burnt Chef in Australia, or in Victoria anyway. Burnt Chef is about, I guess, mental health, culture, and supporting people with mental health initiatives in hospitality. I mean, how? Tell us about that side of things. Like, is Corey very strong on culture? Is there an explicit focus on mental health in his kitchens?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big part of what he does. It's like a lot of the constant, checking in on all of us. His role has changed a lot in the last couple months of expanding into an executive chef position and managing now 3 kitchens and 3 different head chefs. So yeah, his big focus is making sure we are, in the right place mentally, and even just his focus constantly on all the other staff as well, just checking in on them. The way he'll write a roster is always with, some sort of knowledge into how it's going to suit their lifestyle and whether it's family needs or, work-life balance, that sort of thing. And that's like even before he was, pardon me, an ambassador for the Burnt Chef. That was always something when I was working for him, 6-7 years ago. That was always a focus. He'd always try and give me, maybe at least a Friday night off a week, and then the Saturday morning off afterwards, or the other way around. And he'd always kind of give you those little rewards every now and again that are, often something you don't get in a kitchen environment.
That's so interesting. And what kind of difference would that make to you in your work and in your life?
Oh, it's huge. Like, I mean, I remember my first sort of casual job in a kitchen before the Telegraph. I did a summer on a waterfront restaurant in Geelong, and I just remember, doing 5 days a week, all sort of, breakfast to dinner, and you get to your days off and you just sleep because you don't have anything else. Even if you did have something to do, you wouldn't want to do it. But to go from that to somewhere where you're encouraged to be able to have a social life and have people around you, it's a massive difference. I was able to have time to surf with my mates or hang out, go out on a Friday night every now and again, and not have sort of have that guilt or that association, I guess.
And what about within the kitchen? I mean, would there be, I suppose, an emphasis on the way people were spoken to or the way that things were organised? Did you notice things in that regard as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was the conversation even is always about how we're all going and where our mental health is at, and making sure we're talking about stuff constantly. So it's a pretty open book in that respect.
Because I guess in a lot of kitchens, the one of the measures of success is doing those hard long hours. The heat of battle, all those metaphors. Do you feel like contemporary hospitality has managed to unpick some of those? I guess, that way of looking at work and a career in the industry.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I mean, I think at the end of the day, everyone understands that we need to work hard and that, while we're there, we need to give it our best. But to have that background thought and that knowledge that, at the end of the day, your boss or your mentor are thinking about your mental health and your work and life balance is big because, yeah, otherwise, I guess, a lot of chefs would feel like a robot sort of situation.
Yeah, which I guess, I mean, do you find that when you're supported as a person, I mean, what impact might that have on the way that you cook and create in a kitchen?
I think it gives you a bit more energy and it does help you creatively as well because your brain's not as tired and you're able to think more clearly. All those sort of things have a big part to play. I find especially, when it comes to, writing menus or creating dishes to have clarity in your mind and not as much constant stress is very helpful.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Eli, let's talk about Geelong because when I was there recently, I definitely got the feeling that it was a city on the move. Just a lot happening, a lot of energy, a lot of positivity. Tell us about Geelong through the years and how you've seen things change.
Yeah, it's got a different buzz to it. I don't know, the last couple of years. I mean, coming out of COVID, there's a lot happening. I've grown up here and lived here my whole life, basically. Even when I was working out on the Ballerine, I'd still spend a lot of time in Geelong. And it's always kind of been second to Melbourne, I guess, as far as the food scene goes. But it's been great to see there's a couple of groups in Geelong that have restaurants that have really pushed the boundaries. You're seeing a lot more, I guess, small, like, little restaurants that will dedicate themselves to, just doing one sort of style of food really well. A lot of little Italian places and things like that, especially in the Little Malop region where we are, which is really exciting. And just to see people focusing on, local ingredients, just good classic produce. Yeah, it's definitely a shift.
When you were coming up, did it feel like you needed to go to Melbourne or go somewhere else to really, I guess, pursue excellence? But has that changed now?
I would say a little bit, yeah. I mean, when I left the Telegraph, in my head it was kind of either go to Melbourne or, the Ballerine, that sort of winery scene in Geelong. And obviously I went to Jack Rabbit, which was amazing. But it was always in the back of my head. Oh, I should do a Melbourne stint because it's just it is such a good place.
But you haven't so far. So I mean, how do you? Yeah.
Not yet. No.
Tell us about some of those local producers. It is such a rich region. I mean, I guess not only the Ballerine, but over towards the Otways. There's so much going on. What sort of produce do you see in the food bowl around you that you're excited by?
I guess being at Jack Rabbit, like, for the last 5 years before this was great as far as working with local producers because we had so many, like, right by us that I was able to develop a really good relationship with. So just being able to work with them, in the background, and also like at the moment I've got a lot of new suppliers. Some of them are Geelong based and some of them are Melbourne based. But at the end of the day, just trying to get some quality produce. Um, yeah, it's been great.
What, what's an example of something that you're really excited to have on the current menu?
Um, we're doing we're doing a lot of house-made breads and pastas at the moment. I guess we're just highlighting sort of your, just doing our own ragouts and pastas and things like that. Um, off the top of my head, let me think. We're using Glen Harvey's as our veggie supplier, and they're fantastic. We use them a lot at Jackrabbit as well. All their fruit and veggies are amazing. They work with a lot of the local suppliers as well. To like every probably couple of weeks we get sent lists of seasonal produce and that sort of thing. So we'll try and build our menus around that sort of stuff. Um, yeah, but as far as like really dedicated local suppliers, we're still working on who we'll use at the moment.
I was in Geelong a couple of times recently, and the first time was for the Grains Festival, which was held at the Gordon Institute of TAFE. So Grains is all about, mostly sourdough bread, but also beer. So a real focus on grain and how it's used in, I suppose, artisan produce. But the event was held at the Gordon TAFE, which is where the local training facility for hospitality. And I was so impressed with the teachers that I met there and the facilities there. Do you have a connection with Gordon?
Yeah, so I studied there for, all my training was done through the Gordon.
And did you find it a good place? I guess they've had a development, they've renovated more recently, but how was it for you going to that local college?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I was going back a few years now, and it's changed a lot, and it's definitely like even just seeing photos of the new kitchens and the new restaurant and everything is pretty impressive. And I was kind of following a little bit of what was going on with the Grains Festival as well. So it was pretty impressive to see some of the names that came through for that. But yeah, it was overall a pretty good experience being at the Gordon. I mean, it's very knowledgeable teachers as well, even back then. I think a lot of them are still there. So I was able to learn a lot from my time there, absolutely.
And what was it, Eli, that got you interested in cooking in the first place?
I always grew up cooking at home, and I kind of got, I think it started with my neighbour. I was living sort of just outside of Geelong, and we had a pub across the road, and my neighbour was sick one weekend, and he asked me to cover his dishwashing shift at the pub across the road. So I went in there and did that, and I guess I was hooked from there.
That's great. What was it about washing those dishes that you loved so much?
I think I just liked the atmosphere, the buzz, the busy sort of vibe, and even like I remember, I think my first shift, the head chef there was getting me to help make entrees and desserts and like plate wedding functions and things like that. So it was pretty exciting times for me, and I guess I was doing a couple of other little casual jobs at the time, and they just didn't hit the same, I guess. So then I just decided to take a bit more seriously, and here I am.
I love it. That's really great. So it didn't sort of steer you down a different path. Like you had this idea about what you were going to do, and then cooking reared its head. Was it more like you weren't sure, and then you found something that you were really engaged by?
Yeah, I'd say the latter. Yeah, I was definitely not confused about what I wanted to do, but it just like it was kind of the right place at the right time, and I just kind of followed where it led me, and yeah, it was all pretty natural, I guess.
And what is it that you love most about what you do now?
I guess I just love being able to make a dining room happy and, feel like they've had a good experience. That's big for me. I mean, even the last few weeks, this is the first time I've been in an open kitchen environment in my whole career, and it's a different dynamic to see your customers eating your food while you're cooking it, and just even chatting to them afterwards when they walk past, and seeing the appreciation. It's a different sort of vibe.
That's so interesting. So, do you find yourself do you get distracted by watching your food go out and waiting to see the response at the table?
Oh, normally I'm pretty busy, but it's just it's also that thought in your head that you can see them and they can see you, and it's a different kind of pressure, but it's really good. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, well, I love it. I think, from the customer side, I love an open kitchen because, you feel like you're seeing behind the scenes, and it's much more connected. But I guess going back to that sort of that mental health side of things, do you feel that openness, that you're not tucked away, also contributes to a good working environment?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of the chefs I've got have been have kind of come over from places I've worked in the past, and even just seeing the way that they are, and in this different sort of environment, it's definitely cool to see. It's a different dynamic. I know it's hard to explain, but yeah, one of the boys, Koji, we have working with me at the moment. You can see how happy he is when a customer comes over and tells him how great the steak was that he cooked and things like that. So it's it's good to see him light up when he hears that sort of response.
Oh, that's so lovely. And I reckon it must, there'd be people who perhaps hadn't considered cooking as a career. You just never know what sort of interest it's going to spark in people that are dining in the restaurant.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very cool. So, Eli, if I was lucky enough to come back to Geelong and come to Westend, what do you reckon you'd feed me?
Definitely the breads as a sharing option are great. We do a house made focaccia and like flatbreads, things like that. The beef ragu is fantastic as well. It's been one of the most popular. Where at the moment we're kind of experimenting with a bit of dry aging. The boss has bought us a big cabinet, so we're trying to learn all the ropes of that sort of thing. We've got a few things on the specials on the weekend, which have been really awesome. We've had some really good feedback so far, so that's definitely a try. And we've just sort of been trying to find the identity, I guess, of the food we're doing there. So just I'm testing out a few different specials. So there's always something a little bit different on there. We did a squid ink and scallop tortellini on the weekend, which had some great feedback as well. So yeah, all sorts of different things. We've also got the classics for keep the regulars happy as well. So yeah, we're trying to cover all the bases, I guess.
It sounds really fun and really exciting, and that you have an opportunity to be creative as well, Eli. It sounds good.
Yeah, that's a big part for me, I think, is being able to make everyone happy, but also keep the creative sort of process flowing is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. And if we got out your crystal ball and gazed far into the future, where could you see this whole cooking caper taking you? Have you got a sort of a vision or an end game?
Yeah, absolutely. So West End kind of popped up out of the blue a couple months ago. I'd been approached by Corey about 7 or 8 months ago to come and help run a couple of venues, because the guys that I'm working for now also own a pub called Murphy's in Geelong and a couple of other spots. And so he approached me to help open one of them, which is still being built. And in the meantime, they also purchased West End. So I'm helping run that for the near future, but we've also got a couple of other projects happening in the background, which that'll sort of be my focus in the next couple of years. So there's sort of something on the back burner as well, which will be pretty exciting. Yeah,
it's so exciting. It must be just really thrilling to think that you're going to be a big part of reshaping or continuing to shape the town that you've spent your whole life in.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely exciting. I think I've got a great team around me that want the same thing, and yeah, it's been awesome.
Oh, that's so good. Well, Eli, it's fantastic to have a chance to catch up with you. I know we'll stay in touch, and I'll keep an eye on what you're up to, and hopefully get the opportunity to eat your food before too long. But thanks so much for sharing with us today.
No worries. Thanks for the opportunity, Dani. Appreciate it.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta @dirtylinen podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.